Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Wherever you are.
Welcome to SGKs.
Welcome to SGK.
Welcome to SGKs around the world.
Wherever you are.
And in whatever time zone you're in.
Welcome to SGKs around the world.
Welcome to SGKs around the world.
Welcome to SGKs around the world.
Seja bem-vindo a SGK around the world.
We hope you enjoy the session.
We hope you enjoy the session.
A gente espera que você curta a sessão.
We hope you enjoy the session.
Thank you for joining us today for this Around the World session on packaging sustainability. 1 year ago, for the first Around the World event, I was lucky enough to be facilitating a discussion on the subject of digital watermarking and how that technology can really have the potential to transform how we think about packaging recycling. 1 year on, for 2022, we're going to revisit that idea of thinking about digital watermarking. We're also going to get an update on Project Holy Grail. But specifically for this year, what we really wanted to do was put one of our clients front and centre and hear from them directly. So I'm delighted to announce in a moment we're going to hear from our long-term client partner, Procter Gamble. First up, we're going to hear from Wouter Schaekers. He's part of P&G's product supply and sustainability team. So Wouter's going to talk us through P&G's overall approach to packaging sustainability. He's going to go into a bit more detail around Project Holy Grail. And then crucially, he's going to highlight the importance of making sure that as we make our packaging more sustainable, we're also ensuring that it's still desirable to consumers. Wouter will then hand over to Johannes Keller. Johannes works across P&G's femcare category, so he's going to go into a bit more detail about how Holy Grail has been applied to some of the great brands he works with. And then to finish off, I'm going to be joined here by SGK's very own Martyn Jones. Martyn leads our artwork and repro team who help partner with P&G to provide all these great solutions. He's going to give us some insights from his perspective. So back at the end to hear from myself and Martyn. For now, let's hear from Wouter.
So indeed, I'm Wouter. I'm working for Procter Gamble. And it's my pleasure actually to introduce to this team the Holy Grail 2.0 program. You will see it's very exciting, and I'm even more excited about how the way we have been partnering up together with the SGK to make this work. So let's get started on this exciting journey. Allow me to take 1 minute to position this work in the corporate effort, how P&G is playing on sustainability. You may know that actually we have a corporate program, it's called Net Zero 2040. And I would say as many companies, right, we are actually committing to reduce our supply chain emissions with 40%. We're committing to reduce our virgin petroleum plastic and many things more. But what I think makes me really proud to be a member of P&G is what you see in the rest of the slides, which is very much specific actions, how we actually want to make it work, right? So for example, in the area of product end of life, we're committed to make our packaging 100% recyclable and reusable. And even more important, right, we want to enable that by really stepping into the recycling processes at home and communities. So again, it's not only about making our own products recyclable, it's really stepping up as a force for good in the communities around us to make sure the packaging is actually recycled to close the loop. So this is really important, and I'm really happy and proud that as P&G we're playing in that area. So let's double click a bit on what is the problem that we're trying to solve. So when we talk around packaging, very often we refer to it as circular packaging. But why is it called circular, right? Well, it's all about closing the loop, in fact. So if you look at the very first step of making circular packaging is around design. A few examples here of what P&G is doing, but this is very much about making smart interventions in the design of your packaging. For example, make it monomaterial, remove certain lamination, etc. There are clear guidelines on how to do it. That's good, that's great, but guess what? It's not enough to make a packaging really circular, because in order to make it circular, as mentioned, your recyclable package needs to be recycled, and that's a very important difference. So let's see on this slide what is really the difference between being recyclable and actually getting recycled is the blocks that you see there. So first of all, you may know that depending on the country, depending on the community, there is sometimes good access to collections, sometimes not. But in all fairness, this is still pretty okay within the European landscape. What is more important is that once as a consumer, you're putting your let's say your package into a bin, how do you know which bin to put it in? That's already a first problem that sometimes gets very tricky. And that's where Holy Grail is playing. It's about educating our consumers. You will see a bit more on consumer engagement later on. The other piece, which is on separation, that's really the core purpose, the core area where Holy Grail wants to play. So what is the real issue is that when you collect plastic and you want to kind of, you want to recycle it, there is an important step in between that is all around sorting separation. Because if you're not able to separate the different type of plastics, you can still recycle it somehow, but you're going to end up with a very, grayish mixed plastic with low quality that looks ugly and nobody really wants it. So in order to make it really irresistible, to make the plastic at high quality for specific materials, we need to be able to sort it out. And that's really, why Holy Grail was installed as a program, is to improve sorting. With sorting, we get to better, let's say, recycled plastic. And if we have good PCR, then we can design it back into our packages. And that's really how we try to close the loop. That's really how we try to deliver circular plastic. So I hope this gives you already a first indication, right, how this program fits into the P&G corporate program and what is the real problem we're trying to fix and where Holy Grail is going to play. Let's have a look at a little video from our partner, the Alliance Against Plastic Waste, that nicely illustrates how this thing is working.
What if packaging could tell us its story, what it's made of and how it can be recycled? Is it made for food? Made of 3 or 8 different materials? What type of plastics is in there? What if all this could be laid out in an imperceptible code, only detected by cameras, even those on smartphones, so that we could better sort our waste and send it off on its journey for recycling? We're one step closer to making this a reality. With digital watermarks, recyclers can now more accurately identify and sort packaging into specific recycling streams. Those that can be remade into similar products, or those that can be broken down into its components and turned into something completely new. With our ongoing tests, we're even more confident that better sorting means better recycling, and better recycling means greater circularity.
All right, as you saw in the video, right, it's all around adding digital watermarks. So what does that mean? Actually, a digital watermark is like a barcode that you don't see, simply said. So if you look at the products with a digital watermark, they look just like before and you should not see it. It's not invisible, but it's imperceptible, meaning that with the human eye, you will not notice it. But the smart equipment that is in the sorting centers will be able to pick up the signal. So the product looks exactly as before, but it performs very much differently, because by having the invisible barcode on the pack, we're actually able to add a lot of intelligence. So it really becomes intelligent artwork. And by doing that one, bringing that intelligence into the packaging, we're actually allowing the system, to really sort better. Yeah, so you could say, look, okay, I understand there is a barcode, it's invisible, but how does that now really work? Well, let's have a look again at the little animation. As you see on this animation, right, the first step is really, we have actually the packaging waste actually, right, that is collected by the consumer in the plastic bin. It arrives in the sorting center and it's pretty much put on a whole series of conveyors. It's kind of a high-speed conveyor where normally they're using infrared kind of signals, for example, to separate all kind of plastic. That does quite a good job. But what is now really the incremental piece that Holy Grail units can do is we put an extra kind of add-on module on the line where there is a higher resolution camera that will detect these digital watermarks, and so these imperceptible barcodes, and it will look up the information, saying, look, that's this type of product, this type of plastic, etc. By doing that one, it can actually separate the different types of plastics into different streams. And you can then imagine a series of these kind of separation steps, making sure that in the end of the process, we end up with bins with very specific type of plastic or even still groupings. But again, at the choice of the sorter or the recycler to make sure we get to better sorted plastic and as such enabling better recycling. One example that you cannot do today with infrared, you can do here, is that even for, let's say, a PET bottle that today you can sort out already, Today, we cannot differentiate between food and non-food, for example. And this is really something that the industry is asking for in order, again, to make tailored sort of streams for improved recycling and not getting all of these mix, because then there are some legislation constraints. All right, so if we are able to sort, as said, we can add materials to the stream that today we cannot recycle because they're not picked up. Sometimes actually we can do the opposite. We can reject certain elements that are actually not performing, that are not doing a good job for recycling, so we can eliminate them. Or sometimes, simply said, we can just divide the stream into two pieces, different elements. So all of these functionalities are possible with a single imperceptible watermark that we're adding on the pack. So now we understand a bit, right, on how does it work, how can we make a pack sustainable, how can we really make it kind of a circular packaging. But of course, in the end, if you want to drive impact, and that's what we're all about, it's not only about engaging the early adopters, right? We really want to make sure this becomes a best practice in life with all the sorters and the recyclers across Europe to start with, and then across the globe. So if you think about it, what is needed, right? You need to make this sustainability thing really irresistible. It has to be irresistible for sorters and the recycling industry. And this is all about the value equation, right? They need to invest. What do they get in return? We're not going to talk into that one today, but be aware this is actively being worked. Today, we are going to zoom in into really what makes it irresistible for brand owners and consumers, right? Because, of course, that's really where SGK is also playing. So let's have a look on what is needed in that area. You will see that later on, Johannes and Martyn are going to talk about specifically this piece, right? So as mentioned before, we want the package to look after the enhancement exactly like before, which means that we need to add it without compromising anything on the intended artwork design and the brand colors. So again, this is a crucial element that I'm going to explain in detail, how this works and how we are gathering the learnings on this one. Another piece that is important, and then again, this is really like a new functionality that's being offered. It's not just about, let's say, that it looks the same as before, that it does the sorting, but more on that one, right? It actually offers a new kind of use case for consumer engagement. Again, still a lot to learn in this area, but to give you one example, if today you want to educate your consumer on how to sort out a certain package, so which plastic bin to put it in, for example, you need to print it on pack, as you see on these examples on the right. But you also know that all this kind of legislation, symbols, icons are different across country, within a country, even, across different communities. So if we are able to digitize these instructions, obviously, right, we can again drive more impact. And that's exactly what these watermarks are doing. As you see on this example, with your mobile phone, with certain apps, you can scan the package with a digital watermark. This will then trigger a message that will say, look, I scanned this bottle. I'm based in Belgium, for example, so I know this is the image I need to put on the screen. And it will give the instruction to me as a consumer. This product goes into that bin, and voila. That's something we cannot do today. So this is a nice add-on. Again, we're not going to talk too much about that today, but just be aware that with the same watermark, this is something you can also enable. All right, so we know why we're doing it, right? We know what we need to do, but how does that work, right? Because I think you know by now, this is not like a standard project that you can do if you have a bit of time left. This is quite a complex thing. So if you want to kind of put any, let's say, methodology on it, it will be, we need a growth mindset. And so what does that mean? It means that you need to be willing to fail. You need to be willing to learn, because we need people that have expertise in packaging to understand, how does the consumer think? How does the supply chain think? We need people with expertise in equipment to learn about master data and the other way around. So there are a lot of challenges. So if you have really a rigid fixed mindset, honestly, it's not going to work. It's not going to fly. So this is really something, again, when Johannes and Martyn are going to share their excitement, their learning later on, I really think it will get clear to you that why this growth mindset is needed, right? Because we need to learn, we need to be willing to fail, we need to be able to pivot together as one team, right? We need to learn forward on how to make this happen. So again, this is the theory. In a minute, you will see what it means in practice. Then again, last but not least, as said, we're in this together. Luckily, right? I mean, we have great partnership with SJT as one of our agencies to make this work. Just be aware, right? I think by now there is almost 200 members of the consortium on Holy Grail. making sure again, right, we learn together, we learn as a team. And whenever we have proven that it really works, right, we are able to scale it. You'll see there are brand owners, there's retailers, there is sourcers, recyclers, there is printers, etc. So we really have the right kind of ecosystem in place to make it work. All right, so enough about the theory. You know why P&G is playing in that area as part of the consortium. You know what is the purpose of Holy Grail. You know the theory about how we add a watermark on it and how it will enable improved sorting, improved recycling, and as such really close the loop on circular packaging. Let's have a look, together with Johannes and Martyn on the actual learning and how this was implemented on our hygiene products on fem care and baby care. All right, Johannes, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Johannes Keller. I'm the scientist for sustainable packaging at Procter Gamble, and I'm currently managing the femcare business. And together with our design team, SGK, we're closely working together on enabling digital watermarks for flexible packaging. Here, we implemented digital watermarks onto our packaging material without compromising on the intended artwork, the design, and the brand colors. So on the left side, you see our femcare and baby care artworks, and then on the right side, how they perform on the recycling lines. And the main challenge here was to actually introduce the watermark without compromising on the overall experience on the artwork itself. So here on this slide, you can see our latest pack material that we have now in the market, which is with 50% recycled material. And there we have implemented our digital watermark. So here I'm going into detail on which implications we usually had with integrating watermarks into the artworks. So as seen on the left side, we see that the overall appearance of the artwork is really changed. So we have small dots and bits in it, and this is basically the integrated barcode. And the intended artwork itself is really dramatically changed. So this is not how we want it to be, and therefore we need to see which other option there is. And if we now compare the image on the left side of 2019 to the image of 2021, we see that the artwork is still impacted a little, and you can see the watermark, but still the changes are not as drastically as they were 2 or 3 years ago. The standard approach that is usually chosen in order to integrate the artwork into the packaging material is by integrating different colors that are already present in the artwork into different regions of the artwork. So basically it's like color blocking. So on the left side, we have our original artwork image, and on the middle one, we have an option where we have the yellow that is present in the banner on the top. We have this one represented in the teal background color, and also the dark blue that we have is more in the middle as dots, and also the light blue on the right side. On the claim, we also have some small inverted colors in there. And overall, the experience, if we now compare our original on the left side to the option one appears more yellow. Also, the bob appears more yellow, and the claim here is slightly paler. Then we tried out another option, which is basically using a tone of this teal work, which is slightly lighter than the one, and integrating this into the background color, and using the same yellow again for the bob, and the same for the claim. And here the overall appearance is a slightly paler background. The bob is still a little bit more yellow than the original, and the claim is paler. If we now look at this, we need to think about how we can perfectly integrate the digital watermark into the overall packaging. So this is quite challenging, because for each and individual artwork, you need to think about a way how we can actually bring this in without compromising on the design that much. So this requires, of course, intensive manual effort, and also we need to redo this for every artwork. If we now look on the baby care business, what we do not want to have is compromising the quality on the picture. So therefore, we had to find a way on enabling the watermark on the packaging itself without compromising on the quality of it. So we do not want to have any of shifted pixels in the face of the baby or in general on it. So therefore, we had to think of a way on how we can actually integrate the watermark into the packaging. So the standard approach was the approach that I just presented, which is basically having a different pattern of colors within the ink layer. All our ink is protected with a varnish layer on top. The ink of our packaging material is always protected by a varnish layer on top. So what we did now in this approach was we basically had the pattern of the watermark applied to the varnish, and then we had small holes within the varnish. These holes are really, really small and only in the size of 3 by 3 pixels, but they had a huge effect on it. So here on this enhancement of the Black Always artwork, we see on the left side our original image. Then we have option 1, which is basically based on the standard approach, where we are having the dark blue, which is presented in the bob, also in the background. So we have the contrast between the black and the dark blue. And then we have the yellow, which is present in the banner, also present in the bob itself. And in the bullseye, we have used inverted colors. And we have option 2. Option 2 is our varnish approach. And there we had no visible difference. The code is in the varnish. And of course, the risk that we're having was that in case the ink itself is not fully protected by the varnish, we might have some rub off or some transfer from pack to pack material. On our option 3, we have again a high contrast between the code itself and the background, because we're using a light gray tone on the black one, and then on the blue we again have our yellow, which is already present in the banner, and the bullseye is also slightly paler. So overall, we see that we do have no implication with our varnish approach, where we have, of course, the regular implications on the overall appearance of the artwork with option 1 and option 3. So if we have a look on the barcode coverage of the different versions, we see that on the standard approach, we have good coverage, but not full coverage, because we could not apply the digital watermark on the pad, because this would shift the color white too much. Then in the middle, we have our varnish approach, and this varnish approach is quite superior to the standard approach, because we have some coverage on the pad as well, and also other regions where we had bad coverage before or less coverage before are now much better. Of course, the high contrast approach that we're having, so basically having inverted colors on the plaque, led to a strong signal of the barcode, but this had also huge implications on the overall appearance of the artwork. So in conclusion, what we see here is now we have a really good rack detection as seen on the heat map. We have tested the ink stability and have no implications on the ink stability. So rub-off testing and also other ink stability testings did pass with ease. And also the implementation of the digital watermark into the varnish layer of our packaging material is easy to apply and can be basically used for all other and eventually the varnish approach is so simple that it can basically apply to all other of our flexo printed designs, which are then covered with varnish on top. On the bottom right, you see a close-up microscope image of how the printed bag looks. We see our holes, and underneath is the underlying ink. So basically what the barcode readability measures is the contrast between the varnish and the underlying ink. Here in this video, I'm showing the the sorting process on the recycling facilities for our Femcare Black Always. So what we see here is the Femcare Black artworks with the varnish approach running over the sorting lines. And as you can see, the bags are sorted out with a high confidence ratio of 99%, and only one of them landed in the tray without any barcodes. In conclusion, we've developed together with our design team, SGK, a robust and cost-efficient way to integrate a watermark into the varnish layer without compromising on brand colors. And the good thing about this is that now for each and individual artwork that we want to apply the watermark to, this is basically a one-click thing. Only the varnish layer needs to be touched and digitally enhanced, and then this can be applied to any underlying color. And this can, of course, be transferred to all businesses that are using the same packaging technique. So basically an ink and then a varnish layer on top. Thank you so much for your attention. If there are any more questions, please reach out to us or SGK.
So really great to hear from both Wouter and Johannes there. We got some great insights, I think, of the kind of vision from the start, where they wanted to get to, and then some great detail as well of how they've been on that journey. I'd really like to bring in Martyn Jones now. Martyn, talking of that journey, as the kind of SGK being the repro partner, you've been involved from the outset. Tell us a little bit about how that's gone.
Sure. I still remember our first meeting with Wouter and Johannes when we knew we had to apply a digital watermark to the packaging, but we didn't know exactly how we were going to do it. How to get that code into the packaging without compromising somehow the colour appearance of the pack. So when we first proposed a varnish solution, it was a little bit out there. It was our plan Z. We didn't fully expect it to work, but it did. The first initial results were really promising. We followed that up with more strategic testing and really iterative trialing, and arrived, I think, at a really good result that's working both for P&G, Femcare and Baby Care, but it could also have applications for Holy Grail 2.0 more widely. For sure. So really, kind of, as you said, an iterative process that we've kind of really collaborated on. I think it's probably worth, just talking a little bit about the fact that, we've done this great work we've talked about today with Procter Gamble. We're not just working with them, we're working with other clients. What sort of, advantages do you think SGK has in terms of understanding this world of Holy Grail and what we can do for other clients potentially? Of course, yeah, and Holy Grail 2.0 hasn't just been a challenge for P&G, it's been a challenge for other major brands, and we're working with so many of those other great brands. We've been able to be in a really unique position and bring the best learnings globally from different brands into the mix. So something that might have worked on one other brand or with one other customer, we've been able to take that idea, develop it, extend it, and really make it work across the board. Sure, that's great. And then finally, I guess, just to kind of wrap things up, if you could share kind of one, key learning that would be helpful for anyone else who's about to embark on this, and I think as well, just to, and how do we kind of make sure that this can make us more optimistic, I guess, about sort of recycling and for packaging as well? Absolutely. My lesson really would be persevere and collaborate. Those two things are critical. As Wouter said earlier, let's make sustainable irresistible. And honestly, we were at one point where we thought we couldn't have one without the other. Either had to be sustainable or irresistible, and we don't put the code in. But through that hard work, that collaborative process, which took some time, but it was a really exciting journey. We were able to get at a point where we ticked both of those boxes. So my advice would be, don't give up, stick with it, and together we'll find something that works. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your insights today, Martyn. A huge thank you both to Wouter and Johannes for joining us with their time and their inputs too. If you've enjoyed the session today and it's prompted some questions in your mind, then please, in this GoToWebinar, there should be a chat panel on the side. Please post your questions in there and we'll get back to you with answers. That's the end of this session. Hopefully you've been inspired to make a difference yourself in terms of developing packaging that both truly inspires consumers but is also kind to the planet. Thanks very much. Bye for now.